William.
Jared.
It's time for another episode of Debaser.
Oh, awesome. I love doing that. I actually do love doing this.
You gotta kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you gotta take it up a notch.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
Who are you?
I'm Shiva, the god of death.
Cells. Interlinked.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Well, we're hot in financial crisis month.
That's right. This is week 2 of financial financial crisis month. Financial, what the fuck?
Specifically, maybe we should start calling it the 2007 and
the housing crisis.
It's so funny because I've always heard it as the 2008 financial crisis month, but it really was 2007. It bled into 2008.
Yeah, the one we found out with our last movie, The Big Short,
right,
that the banks were covering up.
Right, and it should have happened much earlier.
Yes, but they're covering up the blocks falling apart in 2007, and they could no longer hide it in 2008.
Exactly.
And that set a catalyst for people to lose their jobs, lose their 401ks.
Their retirement savings, and even their homes. And while this movie that we're going to talk about today is set 2 years after the financial crisis, it's perfect encapsulation of how the crisis had lingering effects for years. It wasn't just one specific moment in time. So I think that's why it's generally called the financial crisis.
Yeah, because people were having they were struggling long after the bad shit happened.
Right. And when you get behind on your mortgage payments, you don't get foreclosed and evicted right away.
And the interest keeps building up, and I'm sure you have like back pay and stuff too. Do you not? Like, do you still have to pay stuff even after you get evicted? Or no?
No, because it's complicated, but normally what happens is the bank evicts you from the home.
Yes.
Finishes foreclosing on the property, evicts the tenants, if any. Typically, they relocate, though, already. And then they turn around and sell the house, either to an investor, like a real estate investor, or if it's in good enough condition, they can just straight up sell it immediately to another person or to a realtor to resell. Oftentimes, though, these homes need to be renovated or flipped,
right?
Which was a big thing that happened after this time. But
house flipping.
We can't even get into.
Oh, we can't. We do need to talk about it because
it literally happened.
Richard Carver,
multiple houses in my neyborhood too. By the way,
yeah. Dude, we'll talk about house flipping. Yeah. So, Jared, what are we talking about tonight? Are you gonna do folks or?
No? Yeah. Well, okay. I should do an intro. You
should do an intro,
folks. Welcome to Debaser, a film podcast. I'm Jared Rusk, and I'm joined by my trusty co-host Will.
ACAB.
On this show, we explore both new and familiar movies as we attempt to interpret and explain them,
all in an effort to debase the movie and ourselves.
I need a cue card. He's gonna read whatever you put in front of him, folks. On this show, we explore both new and familiar movies as we attempt to analyze and interpret them, all in an effort to debase the films and ourselves.
Excellent. So what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're talking about the 2014 film 99 Homes.
What do you see out there?
I see homes.
I just saw 9 opportunities to make a lot of money. I need someone who can handle any situation.
This is serious money.
How are you doing this?
Is this stealing?
I'm a man who owns a hell of a lot of properties. You can too. You just gotta stop lying to yourself and ask, what did you do wrong that your family lives in a motel?
I'm gonna do it.
Let's get cooking. You're gonna have more property than women to film with.
Whose house is this?
I see green skies ahead. The 100 homes.
The homes have to be vacated in 30 days.
Is it worth it?
Don't be soft. America doesn't bail out losers.
I am not gonna leave here!
When you work for me, you're mine.
Wait, was it 2014? I thought it was 2015.
I've got 2014.
Ooh, I've got 2015, but you know what? IMDb.
2015 was The Big Short.
Could be wrong. No. I wrote down my notes for this one first.
Okay, you know what happened?
What happened? Did it release at fucking Cannes?
Yes, because this happened with another movie we just had where we had 2 different dates.
Spring Breakers.
Yeah, right.
Because it was 2012 in Cannes.
Because this movie was in super limited release. At first it went to film festivals, then it had a very limited release, and then it went wide much later.
I gotcha.
So that's probably why we have 2 different dates.
There you go.
Just to, if you don't understand.
No,
to the audience. I'm not trying to talk down to you. I'm so sorry.
No, you should. But you should talk down to me.
No, if someone listening doesn't understand how film releases work on smaller films like this one, this is almost an indie film, but it did have like a $5 million budget, $8 million, excuse me.
Yeah, this was
surprisingly large, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting
it's
very
all good.
far.
Yeah, 99 Homes, 2014, 2015.
Yes.
Directed by?
Well, first, if you want to watch the film,
yes.
It is widely available, unlike The Big Short. This film is available to watch on Tubi, Peacock, Vudu, Plex, the free Plex movies, not just someone's Plex server.
Right.
Freevee, Roku channel, and Shout Factory TV.
It's also on Hulu, but you have to have ads.
Interesting. I did not come across that.
I actually was going to write that down, and I guess I didn't. But that's what I watched it on.
Right.
Was Hulu.
Well, if you don't have a Hulu subscription, Tubi, Freevee, and I think the Roku channel are all free.
Yes, but you
don't
ads.
need to have a subscription essentially for those. Right. I'm sure ads are built into all of those. They have to be.
Yeah.
Tubi is pretty legit though. I really like Tubi. I've even gotten my parents into Tubi because they use it to watch the local news broadcast.
Oh, okay.
If you don't have an antenna,
Roku channel does it too.
They also have news broadcasts.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Good to know.
But my son accessed it.
Oh, your son wanted to see the weather. He's like,
pretty
I want
much.
to know. When is it going to rain?
Cloud, water, raining. Yeah, that's my son. He says those things.
I know, that's great. I don't know why it busted into an impression of your son, and his vocabulary isn't even there yet.
Not
it's just
even.
Like I was like, this is what a toddler sounds like. The movie stars Andrew Garfield, Michael Shannon, and Laura Dern.
Laura Dern, not to be confused with Laura Linney, which
I don't know how you got there.
I absolutely did. I wrote it down. You can look right here. It says Laura Linney on there.
So the brief synopsis of this film: a recently unemployed single father struggles to get back his foreclosed home by working for the real estate broker who is the source of his frustration.
That is succinct and exactly what happens in the movie.
To be clear, those are not my own words. That's ripped from IMDb.
Oh, I was like, don't tell me that was AI generated again.
No, I will never do that again. That's disgusting. And also it was wrong.
Yeah, it was.
I did like the exercise of that though, learning like, oh, these things are dumb. Like, yeah, they're going to get better, obviously, the AI chatbots, but it was fascinating to see that like, oh, it's literally just pulling, other explanations on the internet but how it went so wildly off track was fascinating to me. Anyway, we're not AI researchers.
You good, man.
This film was directed by Ramin Bahrani, written by Ramin Bahrani, and Bahare Azimi and Amir Nadiri. Doing my best there.
No, you're good. That all sounds legit.
Right.
So you told me you looked up Mr. Bahrani's filmography and you came up with
hardly anything. He's mostly done short films. One of them being The Paper Bag, I think might be his most famous one because I remember when that came out. It's about, or not the paper bag, the plastic bag. And it's about the life of a plastic bag because they take so long to decompose.
Oh, yeah.
But it's kind of a lighthearted documentary, or not a documentary, excuse me. Short film about a bag just floating and going on adventures, essentially.
Oh, is that kind of like Rubber? Just kidding.
Well, it's not killing anything.
I know, but man, what if it is killing the Earth.
Well, yeah. But I think his most famous project, aside from this film, is the Fahrenheit 451 remake.
That's right.
Reboot, even. That stars Michael B. Jordan and Michael Shannon, that I think HBO commissioned in 2018.
Did you see that? Because I didn't.
I have not. I honestly did not care for that book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I read it in high school, I was like, this is fine.
I've never read it.
Yeah, it's one of those like classics that you're just kind of like, I don't get the hype. I bet if I revisited it though
today,
as an adult, I'd be like, oh, this is great. No wonder we make kids read this, because that,
Yeah. So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you look up anything on this guy? Because like, I'm very interested.
Like the writer-director?
Yeah.
I tried and turned up very little.
That's crazy. I want to know what motivated him to make this movie because it seems like this was a passion project
and
it's something that he was interested in.
From what I could tell, it was generated by his anger at the financial crisis and its effect on working class people.
Yeah,
and but it's kind of out of left field.
Yeah,
for out of his filmography anyway.
Yeah,
because a lot of his films are very personal and maybe even character studies, if you will.
Sure,
maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing about struggles of working class people. Well, actually, no. I take that back. Another one of his more famous shorts is "Man Pushes Cart," which is about a street vendor in Pakistan, or a Pakistani street vendor. I don't think it's actually set in Pakistan.
Right.
Which it is a focus on a working class person.
Yes.
Honestly, a lower class working class person.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen a lot of his work, but he has so few feature films.
Yeah, it's like
so I don't. But it's hard to nail down what exactly his.
What inspires him? What gets his motor running?
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But I'd be fascinated because I like this movie enough that I would like to look at his other films.
Yeah. My only criticism of this film is that it definitely felt like it was low budget at times.
Yeah.
There was dialogue that was a little weird. There was some decisions that I didn't quite understand why they were made. But overall, this was a solid movie, if not incredibly depressing.
I knew the premise going in.
Yeah.
So I figured
told me
it was going to be depressing.
But I was really taken aback because I didn't understand that Andrew Garfield's character, after losing his job and not being able to convince the court to, I guess, extend his time from being evicted to where it is now. Because
it's literally overnight where he goes to court to fight the eviction and the foreclosure.
Yes.
Thinking he has another 30 days.
Yeah, because it's like you have 30 days to appeal.
And then Michael Shannon shows up on his doorstep the next day ready to evict him.
Right.
Yeah. But real fast.
I don't want to. Yeah, we can do beat by beat. But
yeah.
What's up?
The film had an $8 million budget, which
that's right.
Feels high, but it's probably before the leads, Andrew Garfield and Michael Shannon, probably wanted a decent chunk of change.
Yeah, because Andrew Garfield at the time was already the Amazing Spider-Man.
I was wondering if that had... It must have. Yeah, that was around that time, because the Tom Holland movies came out just a few years after this.
Yes.
Yeah. And it grossed only $1.9 million. So, yeah, but, indie films do that. And
it's true.
Studios will produce them or distribute them.
It's the horror movie effect.
Right.
Where you
exactly.
Make
They're going to lose some money on most of them, but they're going to make a shitload of money on one every once in a while to help pay off the rest. Exactly. Yeah. However, it was a hit with critics, and it maintains a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Richard Brody of The New Yorker said of the film, "It's a simplistic but stirring morality play centered on the pressure point of the savings and loan crisis." I felt that was a succinct summary of the film, so I wanted to throw that in there.
That is a good one, yeah.
Something I noticed during the credits, the film is dedicated to Roger Ebert, legendary film critic, if you don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Apparently the writer-director, Ramin Bahrani, was a huge fan of Roger Ebert. I'm going to hit a couple of notes real fast so I don't forget them.
Yeah, go for it.
Clancy Brown has like a very small role in this film.
We got Mr. Krabs himself.
God, I love him so much.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Anytime he's in anything, I do the Leo meme.
Do you know he's in everything.
He is. Whenever I point him out and nobody knows what I'm talking about, I go, oh, he's Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob.
Yeah, he's Mr. Krabs. Well, he's also Savage Opress in the Clone Wars.
No way.
Yeah, you need to go watch the Clone Wars, man.
I do, because I listen to a podcast.
I know you do.
Does them episode by episode.
Yeah.
Shout out to A More Civilized Age.
Yep.
Great podcast. But I first got to know him as a kid as the villain in the first Highlander movie.
Holy shit. I've never seen Highlander, but I know the premise.
We're going to do it. We're going to cover it.
Fuck. Okay. You know who else suggested that we watch that?
Who's that?
Michael Blackman.
Oh,
so Mike
is coming on the pod for Highlander. I'm announcing it now. Against his will, he has no say in the matter. Clancy is so fucking good in that movie, dude. He is the best part of that movie.
Okay.
Anyway, Andrew Garfield isn't that great in this movie.
Nope,
he is not. To say it.
Nope, no. You don't
I
have
feel
to
bad saying it because I feel like he's trying.
You don't have to be bad. That's one of the things that I was talking about when I was talking about like it felt like there was something off about this movie, and it was parts of his performance.
I didn't want to get into it when you were saying it.
Oh, gotcha.
To me, I'm like, a lot of it is Andrew Garfield. I don't think he's selling it, and I think he wants to. And I haven't seen that many films that feature Andrew Garfield.
I think he's a great Spider-Man. He's like him as Spider-Man is really good.
Did you not see those? I've seen the one movie where he's not the main Spider-Man. I'll just say I don't want to spoil anything.
Gotcha. Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
blah 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 blah. And I thought he was fine.
I think he's a good Peter Parker.
Yeah,
but that's fine.
But
yeah,
sometimes he was selling it as a, working class construction worker in Florida. Sometimes he really was not. There's a moment where he is finally working for Michael Shannon's character.
Yeah.
And Michael Shannon isn't with him. And he brings in one of his guys that he used to work with to start pulling air conditioners.
AC units, yeah.
And he just...
There's no chemistry between the two.
Well, he just has a different personality. He's got like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He's talking with a stronger accent. And I get that, we all...
Code switch.
We all code switch. Yes, Will. Thank you.
You're welcome, man.
We all code switch.
Yeah.
But it felt way too inauthentic
I gotcha.
just then. And I was like, buddy, come on.
Okay.
What are you doing? And he doesn't... It wasn't like something that he always did. It was just that scene. It felt like, was this his first time playing this character? Was like that scene shot like, out of chronological order maybe? Because it just felt like maybe he hadn't found the character yet. It felt so strange.
So one thing that I noticed, and I think it could have possibly been direction too, because like there were parts where Laura Dern wasn't selling it, and there were parts where Michael Shannon wasn't selling it.
Oh no, I disagree. I actually wrote, I think Michael Shannon is electric in every single scene, and even Laura Dern is doing an incredible job, I think, of being this single mother whose son is now essentially her co-parent with her grandson. I believed every moment of both of their scenes. But I think they're more seasoned actors is the thing.
Yeah.
But it could have been the lack of direction that is why Andrew Garfield is struggling so much.
I think that's what it was, because like when in that exact same scene where they are getting evicted, both Andrew Garfield and Laura Dern, Laura Dern is having a hard time acting indignant to the situation. It was just that one scene where it was just like,
I think she's trying to be in control because she is
the homeowner essentially.
Yes, and also she's the grandparent, and the parent of Andrew Garfield.
Yes,
she is technically the most,
of the seniority.
Yeah, she's the most senior person in the situation,
right.
So she's trying her best to keep it together. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe that's why she's flipping back and forth,
possibly
being wildly upset and trying to keep it cool at the same time.
Yeah, and then I can't remember what scene it was with Michael Shannon, but there was like one or two where just like, I don't know, maybe they should have reshot that, or they shot it too much, or something. But yeah, Andrew Garfield is unfortunately the weakest link in the film.
Yeah, and I hate to say it because it's not for lack of trying.
Yeah,
I can tell he's committed to this role.
Yes,
because I feel bad saying it.
No, it's fine.
I feel like his heart's in it.
Sometimes you don't do a good job. It is what it is.
So maybe he just can't,
or you get lost in the edit.
Yeah, like you said, it could be the lack of direction.
Yeah,
because maybe the writer and director doesn't know what it's like to be a working class construction worker in Florida, because like that's a very specific thing.
Yeah,
and it's something that I think you and I really know this guy.
Oh yeah,
and that's why we can be especially critical. I think,
you know what, Jared? I think that's exactly right.
I think that's why we're so sensitive to it too. But I did see a lot of other critics agreed or said that Andrew Garfield isn't really honed in on this.
Right.
But oh my God, every time Michael Shannon's on screen, anytime he's not on screen, I'm yelling, "Where is Michael Shannon?"
He definitely has a commanding role in the film, and rightfully so. I mean, like, this is supposed to be a guy who is ruthless as fuck. He's gonna get his, because at the end of the day, you're only out there for yourself.
Right.
The way that he interacted with the financial crisis motivated him to never be in a vulnerable position.
Right.
And in preying on those who are to keep his head above water, and he tries to instill that onto Andrew Garfield's character. And so
he's essentially a Trump, if you will.
Yeah.
He's telling Andrew Garfield, like, listen, you got to be out there fucking everybody else, because otherwise you're going to get fucked. Like, he doesn't say that, but that is, if this was a more crass movie with a worse script, maybe that's something he would have said verbatim.
Actually, you know what, that might, not to keep delaying us from actually talking about the film, but that might actually be the reason why Andrew Garfield feels directionless, because Michael Shannon's character is fully realized. The moment the film opens up with him doing his job,
Right.
Essentially.
And really being unaffected by the fact that a man just committed suicide because he's there to evict him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this character, his ideals are 100% in this film, whereas Andrew Garfield's character is aimless in a way. Like, he knows that he needs to make money, but all he knows is how to be a layman. And then going from that to being Michael Shannon's patsy to being Michael Shannon, it's very difficult. Like, this character is the character that evolves the most throughout the film, whereas Laura Dern is set. She's the mother and the grandmother of the two men. And Michael Shannon's character is 100%. He has no real arc. He's
playing the devil.
Yeah, he's evil,
and he's trying to bring Andrew Garfield to his side.
Right.
And so it's a morality play, like
right,
the
like
critic I quoted earlier.
Yeah.
Because it's all about how far is he going to go. Like, obviously he feels pressured into doing
a lot of
things that are against his own morals in order to, protect or keep his family comfortable.
Right.
It's how far is he willing to go. We should back up a little bit too, though. So the premise of this movie is...
Oof, okay. Take this part and put it somewhere else. Yeah.
No, we just got excited. It's a part of the pod, baby.
That's true. And also, with this being a character study, you're going to talk about the characters a lot.
So the film is about... Well, we open on Michael Shannon, who is a realtor, essentially.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Is he a realtor, or does he, how do you say... Because I feel like there was, like, he does something else that puts him in the position of evicting people. He owns the loan, or
he takes the properties from the banks,
right? Yes,
and helps evict the tenants to turn around and sell them.
That's what it is. Okay, so
I think he is a licensed realtor. I think he has to be a licensed realtor to do that.
Yeah,
stuff.
You're right.
But he is operating as multiple. He has multiple roles that he's playing.
Right.
He has an LLC set up that he is essentially using to kind of defraud the banks and the banks,
because he has,
and the government a little bit too.
Andrew Garfield steals shit because he knows that the banks are going to give him money back.
But Michael Shannon, we open on a man that has clearly just committed suicide in a bathroom in his own home, and we see Michael Shannon mostly being unaffected by this.
Yeah.
In his reaction, and the cops are even, a little unsettled about it, because there's already cops on the scene because they were there to evict the man.
Yeah, he's got a crew, 2 guys that always go with him to every eviction.
Right, and so we see that Michael Shannon is a very cold person. That this is routine for him, and people's reactions do not shock or surprise him. He's seen it all, presumably.
I was a little conflicted with that portrayal, only because it seemed like he knew the guy kind of on a personal level, because he knows the guy's wife's name, his 2 kids, their names, their ages, and stuff like that. And an uncaring person probably wouldn't know those things, or wouldn't care to know those things. Or do you think he did like Oppo research before he went to go evict?
Because he shows that later in the film with other people.
Does he?
And multiple times, yeah.
I must have missed that.
He always knows the names of the tenants he's there to evict.
He knows the main person, the person on the lease, but I didn't know that he knew the children or the spouse.
The fact that he knew the children, but the guy's spouse was probably on the mortgage with him.
Sure,
so she was in the documents. But later, when he's talking to Andrew Garfield in his vehicle, for like the second time ever, maybe he names all of the people he used to work with, and it's because I think it's implied to say that he did research on that guy, like you were saying.
Gotcha.
To be like, I know what your background is.
I didn't catch that. That's my bad.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's why we're here to talk about it.
Yeah.
But with that prologue scene, we get the impression that Michael Shannon is a very cold person that is just there to do a job. He's there to evict people from these homes so that he can turn around and sell it and make a huge profit. And then the next scene is we see Andrew Garfield and his mom, played by Laura Dern, and his son, who is 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And their house has been foreclosed, and they are currently in court fighting the foreclosure and the eviction process.
Before that,
yes,
he gets laid off. He's
on a work before that.
Yeah, he's on a work site first.
So, he's doing framing.
For a house.
And one of the foremen comes onto the site and tells everybody to stop working because I think the buyer or not the buyer, I guess, but the person that's paying for the
house to be built.
Right.
Stopped.
Didn't qualify for funding, which how did they get that far? Anyway, I don't know. I don't know enough about that.
But he's like, we worked for free the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's like, we can't get paid for the last 2 weeks. Everybody needs to go home. Sorry. And that's
fucking unreal.
Because of, how shaky construction can be. That's essentially him getting laid off too.
Yeah.
Basically getting sent home.
Crazy. But then the next scene happens.
Right. And then we learned that the house is also getting foreclosed. There are a lot of statements made by multiple people in this film about how they got to the point where they are in their foreclosure. Mm-hmm. And the film doesn't examine if they're telling the truth or not, or, if it's factual, or if they were lied to, or if it was fraudulent. The film doesn't seem to care. The film is saying but it's not saying it doesn't matter. It's saying that the fact that they're in this point in the first place is unfortunate, and there is no system to protect them. There are only predatory people out there to make a profit by getting them out and reselling the home as fast as possible.
Yeah. And it's almost like they've got the judge in the pocket too, because the judge is like,
right, because he even says, he's like, I've got like 4,000 more of these cases. Yeah. I don't have time to sit here and listen to your sob story.
Yeah.
But Andrew Garfield says that the bank told us to not make those payments because we couldn't, and they were like, just don't make the payments. Well, I don't know why the bank would have told him that. Probably because we can assume they wanted the foreclosure to move forward faster. Because if they made partial payments, it would have prolonged the foreclosure.
And if we've learned anything from the last movie that we watched.
If you take anything away from this month, is that bankers will fucking lie to you.
Yeah, man.
Anyway.
But the most important thing is that the judge says, you've got 30 days to appeal.
Right. He gives them 30 days. So he goes home. His son is upset. His mom's upset. But Andrew Garfield says, listen, we're going to keep the house. We'll keep fighting. We'll do it. Don't worry. And they wake up the next day to Michael Shannon on his doorstep with
two
police
fucking goons
there to evict him. And it's a tough scene. It's very tough.
It was hard for me to watch.
Yeah, and the camera doesn't pull. It doesn't pull any punches.
I was putting myself in that situation. I was like, what if I wake up one day,
1,000%, yeah,
and some fucker is like, you, your wife, and your son, get out of the house. You have 2 minutes to grab anything that's essential. Get the fuck out.
Nobody listening to this is that far away from this happening.
Yeah,
we are all
crazy.
Much closer than you think. It's horrifying, and there is just so little of a safety net in this country to prevent that. Like, I'm sorry, I'm tearing up thinking about this.
No, it's okay.
Because this happens to so many people.
Yeah,
it's happened to my neighbors. I worry about it happening to me, not for any particular reason, but just because I know
it's
how much of a reality, that it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are some programs out there that you can file for it, but it's like, we are all so close to this happening to us. But I digress. It's a very emotionally charged scene. It's very difficult. It is, it's a very real scene. We live in it for a moment while they
are experiencing it,
coming to terms with it happening to them. And they're given 2 minutes to gather what they need by the police.
And then
obviously it's not enough time. Can you imagine learning within moments that you need to leave your house forever? Jesus Christ. But the police make them leave.
And then
stand on the curb. And
you have to stand on the curb because right now you're trespassing.
You're no longer,
is not your property.
Right, you have to stand on the street.
Property.
Yeah. Michael Shannon has a crew of very ragtag guys that come in,
goofballs,
and start, pulling stuff out of the house,
taking it to the curb.
Yep, and taking it to the curb. And Michael Shannon says, you got 24 hours to remove all of this before it gets thrown away.
Yep.
But I would get rid of it by sundown because your neighbors will start rifling through it.
Yeah, because all your neighbors can see what's out here. And most importantly, Andrew Garfield's character notices one of the workers rummaging through his tools.
Yeah, through one of his big toolboxes. And he is a construction worker, so it is very important.
That's his livelihood.
Exactly. Because you own your own tools for a lot of construction jobs.
Yeah.
You're expected to bring them to the job site and so on and so forth. So someone stealing his tools could be the difference between him getting a paycheck that next week, essentially,
So they had to move to a hotel.
Right. They stay at a hotel.
It's very demeaning, but Andrew Garfield is very determined to find a job and get them out of this situation, to get them back in the house.
And as they pull in to this motel, there's a family standing out front next to their truck, and they say, that's a lot of stuff in your truck. And they're like, yep. And they're like, do you want us to watch it for you while you help get moved into your room? And they're like, yeah, we'd really appreciate that.
Ooh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they're immediately
they know what's
offering
up.
a sense of community.
Yeah.
But they're clearly have been in the same position.
Yeah.
And they asked, like, how long are you here for? Like, just a few nights. And they're like, yeah, we said the same thing. And I forget how long. They said we've been here for months or something, or 2 years maybe even.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, this is happening.
Evoking a lot of Florida Project in this movie that takes place
when
in
they
Florida.
went to the hotel, I was really like, oh, wow, is this going to be a Magic Castle situation?
We are right back here, baby.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of sad scenes of the motel room.
Yeah.
Other than
we
the
don't.
one where he's sitting there talking to his mom about how they have to get out of this situation. Yeah.
Yeah, later on.
Yeah. Well, the next day, Andrew Garfield wakes up, realizes his tools are missing.
Well, before that, he goes on a job hunt. Because he calls around.
Oh,
and he tries to get a
asks
job.
all the people he knows if they're hiring, and none of them are, because the economy has collapsed.
Yep.
It still has not rebounded. And, construction, new home construction was just non-existent for years after 2007.
That's right.
It was abysmal. I know lots of builders went out of business. Lots of construction workers had to find other work. Unemployment is not great in this country, period. And it's especially not great in this state, because this movie is set in Orlando, Florida.
Yep. Calm down. we don't have enough time.
Well, then Andrew Garfield realizes some of his tools are missing.
That's right.
And goes to one of the offices that Michael Shannon is operating out of.
Yeah.
Where the guys who took all of his stuff out of his house are. And he confronts one of them in the parking lot.
The specific one, he was like, hey, get the fuck out of my toolbox.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I need my tools back. And he's like, I didn't steal your fucking tools.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Gets into a confrontation with him. Michael Shannon has to come out and break it up. And as he's breaking up the fight and arguing with Andrew Garfield, Andrew Garfield is being very respectful with him for some reason. I guess because Michael Shannon is a person in position of authority.
And he already ruined his life once. He could probably fucking do it again. And he's clearly got connections with the police, too.
But I think Andrew Garfield's character is supposed to be this working class guy that gives respect to authority figures.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's a whole... I
I
don't have time to unpack it.
No, I got you.
I don't know that I have,
the tools needed
to unpack that. But that is a guy.
Yeah.
We all know that guy. But anyway, Michael Shannon gets a phone call and says, oh, shit. And so he tells everybody, all of his workers there, like, he gives them an address. He said, we have to be there right now. And he looks at Andrew Garfield and he's like, you look like a guy that could use $50. Meet me there. Very demeaning thing to say to somebody.
But he's right.
But Andrew Garfield says, shit, and jumps in his truck and heads over.
Yep.
And we learned that it is a property where the tenant was being evicted, and
he flooded the whole house with
sewage backup.
Actually, so you mentioned in the last episode,
in our Big Short episode, I mentioned that
kill bankers.
Somebody wrote kill bakers and
shit. It's actually in this movie, but I do believe that they had something spray painted on the wall very similar to like fuck bankers or kill bankers in The Big Short. But this movie,
they did.
This movie has kill bankers written in shit.
I think it was shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the whole house was filled with shit, and it was really nasty to look at.
Yeah, and none of Michael Shannon's workers want to
go in there
and clean it up.
Yeah.
So he looks at Andrew Garfield and starts negotiating how much money it's going to take, and I think he settles on $250.
Yeah, but think about that.
No hazmat suit, no mask. I know, but you're at your lowest point.
Yeah,
and that's
dude. I've been there once. Not like cleaning up shit, but like all of us have been desperate,
taking too little money for something. Yeah. Anyway, Andrew Garfield takes him up on it, starts cleaning up the house. Michael Shannon, clearly inspired by his
go get him attitude.
Yeah, gutsy. What do you call it?
Or maybe like easily manipulated because this dude is literally on rock bottom.
It's more that. I think it's never really examined in the movie, but it's that. For sure, it's that. But he ends up firing a lot of the crew that was there, and Andrew Garfield essentially usurps them.
He doesn't fire the crew. He fires the guy overseeing the crew.
Right. He hires, I guess, his foreman or whatever that's in charge of the crew, replaces him with
Andrew
Garfield, who ends up bringing in a lot of his own guys to do some of the work that he ends up doing for Michael Shannon. So we learn that Michael Shannon is a realtor that takes foreclosed properties from the banks, evicts the tenants, and then turns around and resells them and does whatever work is needed to be done inside of them.
Yeah, sometimes he flips the houses.
Right.
And some of the houses that he lives in aren't his. Like he doesn't like...
Oh, they're just properties that he's sitting on the deeds for, probably, too. Yeah. importantly, too, something that happens in the film is he's committing a major fraud.
Oh, yeah.
By when he takes possession of a home from the former tenants.
Yeah.
Because it's been foreclosed on. He will have Andrew Garfield roll in and remove the HVAC, the air conditioner unit,
and pool pumps,
and eventually even appliances from the inside.
That's right. Yeah.
And report it as
stolen,
having been missing when they took possession of the property.
Right, yeah.
So that they can be reimbursed by the bank or the government,
and then they
for
just
replacing
reinstall
them.
It. Yeah.
And then they just reinstall the one that they stole and put in storage for the time being. And Andrew Garfield has no qualms with this.
Yeah, because
he specifically says, like, I got no problem, fucking the government.
Well, yeah, it's because Michael Shannon also, talks about, like, these are the people that gambled with your money and put you in this position.
Yeah, and caused the crisis that is getting everyone evicted.
So fuck them as hard and as often as you possibly can.
Right.
Yeah. Same thing with, like, the cash for keys thing, because I think the cash for keys...
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
...is also, like, a government thing. Like, what was that? I don't understand that.
They don't really delve into it.
They don't.
I want to look this up real fast.
Do you
It's implied that he's lying about how much money he's getting for it. But anyway, so Michael Shannon is also doing a cash for keys program, which is explained to be, if someone is facing a foreclosure, they can just turn the keys over and remove themselves from the premises, and they will get a $3,500 buyout, essentially. Just a no questions asked check for... It's mentioned that the house needs to be in broom swept condition, which I'm assuming is like fairly clean.
Yeah.
all of your belongings are removed and it's in working order. They write you a check immediately for $3,500, and the property is no longer yours. You have no equity. You have no possession of the house anymore. And they use this as a quick and clean way to get a lot of people out of their houses, so they don't have to go through with the eviction process or continuing the foreclosure, because that can be a very lengthy and expensive process for everybody involved. So if they can avoid it, they can. There's also something called a deed in lieu of foreclosure, which is very similar to cash for keys, but it just entails more paperwork. And it's a little better on your credit than an actual foreclosure, but we're not getting into that.
Fine.
That's not even mentioned in this movie. I'm sorry for bringing it up.
No, that's all good. But basically, Andrew Garfield is doing all of these things so that he can buy his house back from Michael Shannon.
Right. He makes a deal with Michael Shannon that if I do he does some work for him, then eventually he says, listen, if I keep doing this with you, I want to buy back my house from you. And Michael Shannon's like, why are you attached to that house? Just buy any house. You can buy any house with this money.
What you call it, a house is a box. I'll put you in a small one.
Right. And he's constantly trying to, instill this into him that, like, do not get emotionally attached to real estate.
Or to anything. Because, Michael Shannon is... Every house that he lives in is not his own house. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, he's no longer living with his wife and kids.
He doesn't consider it either A, his house, or B, like a good house even. Because when we see the first house that his wife and kids live in, Andrew Garfield remarks that it's really nice. It is.
Yeah, it is.
And he's like, that's okay.
It's fine.
And then also he's fucking got a girlfriend
and another house
that he's cheating on his wife with.
Yeah.
Who he's got set up in another house that's
also nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
to further prove that this guy is, the literal incarnation of Satan. Like, he walks, there is sulfur in his footsteps.
He has no attachment to anything. He lives a detached life, and this is the background to like clues to tell you that
he's evil, that he purely exists to make profit,
that he's also detached from everything. That's the reason why
he's a capitalist.
Yeah, man, he's a fucking blood-sucking vampire.
Put in the guillotine.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyways, so yeah, Andrew Garfield does all this stuff to...
But yeah, he arranges this deal that he can eventually buy back the house from Michael Shannon.
And eventually he does, to a point.
Even though he can't... It's explained that he can't move into it yet because the house is tied up.
Yeah.
It needs to be listed on MLS before he can even technically buy it and move into it.
But is that true? Or is he just...
Okay, there are a lot of...
jerking his chain.
Contrivances for the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
So, kind of... He could have moved in, though, and no one would have kicked him out. You know what I mean?
True.
Because, like...
he had the key. He could have walked in there, yeah.
Right, exactly. Because they were visiting, and it was fine. Like, they could have moved in.
Yeah.
If the bank had found out, obviously they would have been, they would have tried to get him out. Mm-hmm. It's whatever. It's beside the point.
Right.
This movie isn't based on any true particular stories.
Even though you
read...
read...
There's like on the IMDb trivia page, it says it is, and there's a couple of articles that make reference to like, oh, it's based on a guy that did this. No, it's fucking not. It's based on like the general atmosphere of, you know, the real estate market post the financial crisis.
Yeah, the movie never says like this is based on true events.
Right, none of these are real people. Yeah, it's so that's been overblown.
Right. So Andrew Garfield goes around. He starts evicting people.
Right. He becomes Michael Shannon. Yeah. He starts
to clear out a certain area that other realtors own to sell to the banks.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Is that basically a simplified way of explaining that?
Yeah. That's a little later, but he does.
Is that a little later? That's like this, we're writing the line.
Michael Shannon is working his way towards getting this huge deal. With this bank.
Yes.
Where they have a ton of properties that they need to evict a ton of people in a very short amount of time.
Right.
They currently have a deal with another, you know, broker that's going to do that for them. Michael Shannon wants to take that guy's business.
Yes.
So they do some very shady things to those properties, so that the bank drops that broker and then gives the business to Michael Shannon.
Right. They steal a bunch of appliances. Right.
Right. They just start stealing everything. All the appliances and everything, so that the broker ends up charging the bank for it, and it looks very suspicious. But he doesn't know that they were stolen, you know, from Michael Shannon's crew.
Right.
And so the bank decides to drop him because they feel like he's overcharging them, and they hire Michael Shannon. And then he gives Andrew Garfield, like, listen, you need to hit all these homes. You need to do this. You know, that's where the title, I guess, 99 Homes comes from. However, he specifically is saying 100 homes repeatedly throughout the movie.
Yes. Well, and the reason why is the 100th home
is his own.
No,
perhaps
no, it's Frank. So there's a B.
Is it the last?
Yes.
Oh, I missed that.
There is a side story that's going on. There's a character that we're introduced to.
Well, we keep cutting back to multiple people that Andrew Garfield has some connection with.
Yeah, but this guy specifically, this Frank guy, he was introduced very early on because Andrew Garfield's son is friends with this guy Frank's son.
Yeah.
Frank is stealing water and electricity from one of Michael Shannon's properties, and so Michael Shannon...
He has a hose and electrical extension cord hooked up to an empty house.
Yes.
Who among us?
I know.
Michael Shannon's very offended by it, makes a whole scene about it.
Yes, and Andrew Garfield is there along, from the right, and he
kind of apologetically is like helping him disconnect it. You know?
Yeah, and then later on, Andrew Garfield checks in on him because he knows that the house is going to get foreclosed on.
Yeah.
And Frank is very offended that Andrew Garfield is working for the devil.
Yeah.
And he does not want the charity, but B, he's also convinced that he's going to win his case. And Andrew Garfield had been down that same road and was trying to warn him.
Well, as we see Andrew Garfield going through evicting lots of people.
Yeah.
A ton of them say that they have a lawyer involved. And they're like, no, you just need to call our lawyer to like get it settled out. And they're like, no, it's too late for that. We're here to evict you. Andrew Garfield goes to visit the guy to be like, hey, listen, can I give you some work so that you can start, like, can you work with me doing this so that you can start earning some money to pay your mortgage, you know? And obviously the guy shuts him down. He's like,
dude, fuck off.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not doing that. Like, why would I work for you or that fucking guy?
Yeah.
Like, I would do he's just so offended by the mere notion of that.
I forgot during this eviction sequence, we do have the same scene from The Big Short where a guy comes out and he says, well, I've been paying my landlord.
Right.
What do you mean? And
it's like, how are you evicting me? I've been paying my rent every month. Yeah.
And then, you see the look of distress on Andrew Garfield's face, like, your landlord's not paying your mortgage and I'm going to have to ask you to leave now.
Yeah.
And it's like heartbreaking.
There's so many really difficult scenes of him evicting people. Like, one is an elderly man.
That clearly has no support network at all.
Even the cop that's serving the eviction with him, like, is clearly like, we got to get this guy some help. I think he offers to drive him to the Red Cross, you know?
Oh yeah. Or, he was like, you can stay at the station for a bit until your son comes out.
He offered to take him to the police station?
Yeah, but like not in a way to arrest him.
Right. But yeah, there's like immigrants that English is, they're not their first language.
Yeah, the kid is having to interpret.
The kid is interpreting to his mom, and like a young kid.
Yeah.
There's one where, a lady is speaking in broken English, like saying, like, she's like, I don't understand, like, my parents are paying the mortgage. Like, why are you evicting me?
Yeah.
Just all kinds of just awful stories of people that,
everyday people,
yeah.
your neighbors.
You can
your
argue
friends.
it's unjust. We don't learn the circumstances of all of their stories, and they all have either explanations or excuses or whatever. But obviously, it's too late now that the eviction notice or the eviction itself is being served. It's just horrifying.
Yeah.
And it's clearly taking a toll on Andrew Garfield as he's doing it, but you can tell he keeps telling himself, like, I'm doing this because
For my family.
For
my
like,
survival.
Someone else is going to do it. I might as well do it so that I can get my family's house back.
Yeah.
And eventually, one day he goes home, and he's in the parking lot of the motel with his kid,
who's having his birthday.
Right. Oh, that's right. He's having a birthday party,
And the entire motel is
all
there. They're
all the kids and families from the motel are out enjoying the birthday party.
Because the sense of community, as you said,
Yep.
that was a really good scene to show all these people like trying to celebrate.
They're all
and
people
have a good
making the
time.
best of their situation too. Yeah.
And this family shows up.
Yeah, a family pulls up in an older car with all of their belongings, and
Laura Dern, hold on, before the conflict, Laura
yeah.
Dern is like, hey, go see if they want some cake or some pizza. Like obviously they're on difficult times. Go see if they want some food.
Yeah.
And
I think Andrew Garfield recognizes the guy.
Yes, he does. And he's like,
and
hey,
he goes, hey, let's actually go inside. Actually, let's go back inside.
I got to take what's his name back to his house.
Back to the house. Yeah. And then the guy driving the truck recognizes Andrew Garfield and starts shouting after him. And it's a very awkward and sad sequence where he confronts Andrew Garfield. And he's like, you're the shithead that just evicted me from my fucking house. Like, what are you fucking doing here? And he's like, I live here. You don't know me. Stop talking to me.
He's really trying to be like, you don't know me. He's like, your name's Devin Nash. You work for Carver Realty. Fuck you. I know you. Yeah.
It's rough. But then the guy starts accosting him. Like he gets his mom and his kid inside the hotel room, and the guy starts banging on the walls and the door too. Yeah.
But it's like, it's not just a betrayal of his morals and, because it's a betrayal of his mom because he was lying to his mom.
Yeah. He hasn't told his mom what he's doing, I think, the entire movie.
And it's a betrayal of everybody else that lives in that motel.
Right. I think it's implied that the other neighbors are mad too, because you hear multiple people yelling at him.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a good scene. It was like sad, but it was a good scene.
I'm surprised. He's clearly earning a lot of money from Michael Shannon by that point.
Yeah.
Why did he not just take them to another hotel, or even start renting an apartment? Like maybe. I think Michael Shannon even brings this up, and he's like, "Well, I'm so close to like getting my home back or something." No, I think Michael Shannon is telling him to just buy another home. And he's like, no, I want my home back, and that's why he's so stubborn about. But like, just go to another hotel, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he does eventually take that advice, but it's a little too late.
Yeah.
So like, goes to a nice house that he had seen previously.
Yeah, he eventually buys a nicer house that he evicted somebody out of. He brings Laura Dern and his son to it, and Laura Dern knows.
Yeah.
What it is.
Yep.
And she's like, we're not staying here. We can't do this. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, someone was evicted from this house. Like, I want our house back, not this.
Yeah.
You know?
And then we've got two more scenes, or like a couple more scenes, but the major thing that's coming up next is him getting the forged documents.
Oh,
right.
Before we get
or
there.
Is this before oh yeah, what's up?
Laura Dern, after going to this, nice new house that Andrew Garfield bought.
Yeah.
Has a huge fight with Andrew Garfield about it because she knows she's picking up what he's doing. She's like, I don't think you're actually working construction. That, or you're just okay with like buying someone's foreclosed house now.
Right.
And you don't think anything of it. So she, presumably, she disappears. Her and the grandson disappear. Yeah. Presumably, she takes him to a family member's house in Tampa.
Oh yeah,
she keeps threatening to do that.
Uncle Jimmy or something like that down in Tampa? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I forgot about that.
She ups and leaves. Takes the grandson to a relative's house. And also, Michael Shannon, around this time, closes that deal with the bank that he was trying to get.
Right, yes.
Throws a lavish party at his
one of the
side
properties.
chick's house, if you will, I guess. Yeah.
Tamika's house.
And Andrew Garfield has repeatedly like turned down alcohol in the film, but has been drinking more and more because of it's implied how much shit he's dealing with doing this job.
Right, it's his coping mechanism.
And he gets drunk at this party, and he admits he has a heart-to-heart with Michael Shannon out by his pool at like 5 a.m. as the party's over, and says that like, yeah, my dad drank himself to death, and and so it's implied that's why he doesn't like to drink alcohol, although he is now. And it just says that how much of a toll the job is taking on him, and implies that someone found him at home. He doesn't get into it with Michael Shannon, but says that like somebody found me and is accosting me. And Michael Shannon opens up and says like, yeah, I can't go out to eat with my family without looking over my shoulder. He's like, there's a reason I carry a gun on me everywhere I go, even in my own backyard right now at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, I have a gun on my leg right now.
Is this the scene where he also talks about how in 2007 or something like that, his dad fell off a roof and they terminated him immediately?
Yes. Even though he had been paying the insurance premiums his whole life.
Yeah.
Before he could even buy a wheelchair, they cut him off. Yeah.
Is that also when he talked about like how the financial crisis kind of turned him into what he is?
Yeah, because Michael Shannon gets into how he became a realtor so that he could put people into homes. And then the financial crisis happened, and everyone was getting evicted, and he couldn't, bring people to buy houses essentially anymore. But there was money to be made in evicting people and then turning around and selling that house.
Right.
So that's what he started doing. And he saw an opening in the market and took it. And it, he obviously didn't have any qualms about it, but he is getting kind of defensive about it,
Well, yeah, because like he's got to protect his bag,
That's how he feels about it.
He's got to get his.
And he's clearly making plenty of money doing this.
Yeah. But so he's going to protect that bag by having a forged document on that 100th house.
Right. So he comes out of a meeting with some of the bankers. Clancy Brown, notably, and realizes that a document during the foreclosure process that was supposed to be filed and recorded with the Orange County Comptroller's Office wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has one that is now backdated to look like it was filed at the correct time, hands it to Andrew Garfield, explains the situation to him, and says, take this to the Orange County Courthouse as fast as you can and get it recorded, because the guy's fighting this in court right now and could overturn this. And number one, he never would have laid all of that out for Andrew Garfield.
True.
He would have just handed it to him and said, get this recorded,
I think that
or done it himself, or
I think that he laid it out because Andrew Garfield caught on pretty quickly, because he took the thing out and looked at it and was like, this is a forgery.
Well, after Michael Shannon
was it after he
says this to him, he
okay.
goes, so this is a forgery? Yeah.
I thought that he said prior to that, but
this is a morality play, so he has to know the stakes.
What's going on. Right.
Everything has to be clearly laid out for him so that he is being presented with the choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes to the courthouse and doesn't want to go through with it. He's like having a panic attack in the bathroom, and Michael Shannon calls him on the phone and says, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, he calls him multiple times, but texts him, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Because he realizes that it's Frank, the person that he's about to doom to homelessness is this guy who has more or less kept his morals and has been doing things, quote unquote, the right way to keep his home.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to fuck him.
And he goes back out into the lobby of the courthouse, but he's extremely reluctant, you can tell. And then a guy comes out and says, hey, are you with Frank Carver? And he
like tries to walk away.
He tries to walk away. He starts ignoring him and walking away. And he goes, hey, come back. And he snatches the folder out of Andrew Garfield's hand.
Yeah.
And he goes, Jesus Christ, and then runs off to, presumably he is a clerk of the court that is
in on it,
is in Carver's pocket.
Yeah.
Then we cut to his court case, and it's brought up that this document was found saying that, like, listen, your foreclosure went through, like, you can't fight this anymore.
Yeah, you've been notified.
And him and his lawyer are like, Your Honor, this wasn't in here. Like, what are you talking about? Like, hold on, wait a minute, this doesn't. And the judge is like, sorry,
I've got 40,000 cases to see today.
Yeah, and he's like, it's in there now, so sorry.
You got 30 days to appeal.
And then I think almost immediately the next scene is
the very next day.
Yeah, the cops and Michael Shannon and Andrew Garfield go to evict Frank, and when they get there, the cops are interviewing people, and it turns out the guy is having an armed standoff with the police and doesn't want them to come in.
He gives this beautiful fucking speech about, I'm not going to believe a lie. You cannot.
Oh, you're jumping ahead. Hang on.
Oh, sorry. Well, so when we get there, though,
things escalate very fast.
Yeah,
and the guy, before they can even talk to him, the guy breaks out his window with a gun.
Yeah,
and everyone takes positions behind their cars. first of all, this is Florida. The cops would have immediately
He would have died.
popped him the second he did that.
He would have died. He would have been dead immediately.
They don't care.
No, they don't give a shit.
They don't care.
Yeah, that was the first unbelievable thing.
Maybe the fact that he was white would have bought him some time.
Maybe it was because he was
enough.
A, white, B, there was a bunch of people that could see, C,
Right,
it was 2010.
There was a kid in the house.
Yeah, so maybe, but I don't know.
Anyway. He pops open the window with his gun, starts shouting, and just arguing with no one in particular that this is my property, everyone needs to leave now, shouting at the police. And it's extremely tense. Andrew Garfield is clearly very conflicted. He feels responsible for this escalating to the point that it has.
Yep.
Make what you will out of that, because maybe this guy is a little on the edge, and one document can't be blamed for him getting so far as to pulling a gun on lots of people. But anyway, I digress.
It's a stressful time.
Not the point of the movie.
It's a stressful time. Him and his family are about to get evicted. He's not the first person that threatens gun violence in the movie, too.
Right. The guy earlier that pulled the gun on Andrew Garfield. Yeah. But Andrew Garfield eventually stands up and walks up to the front yard.
You're missing the speech, man.
No, this is when it happens.
No, he says it before Andrew Garfield gets
up.
I'm
talking about. You're not talking about when he's looking at the sun and he's like, "You can't come here and tell me that the sun is not out."
Yeah, he does that before.
That's the speech you're talking about?
Yeah, he does it before Andrew Garfield gets up and fucking does anything.
No, he gets it. Because Andrew Garfield walks up and he says all this, and Andrew Garfield just looks at him and he's like, "What?" That's when it happens, yeah, after he walks up.
I thought it was before that.
No. Because he starts just making demands about get off my property. So then Andrew Garfield walks up to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't come any closer. Don't come any closer. And then he starts shouting. He looks at the sun and he's like, you cannot tell me that the sun is not out when it's out. He's just going on this.
It was good.
Right. He's clearly a man on the edge.
Yeah, but it's good, man. That was such a good performance. I really liked that.
I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah, well, I liked it.
He's clearly frustrated, up against a wall.
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield, is almost in tears and just says, like,
I forged the document.
I filed a forged document. I wronged you. Like, I'm the reason this is happening.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
This is your home, Frank.
Yeah. And the guy takes it in.
Yep.
And then puts his gun down and turns himself in.
Mm-hmm.
The guy puts his gun down, turns himself in. The police come in and arrest him. And there's like a beat, but then some men in suits start talking to Andrew Garfield.
Yep.
And have their arms, like their hands clasped on his arms and shoulder, and then walk over to Michael Shannon's character, who seems to be putting together what's happening real fast.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble.
And he's like, he says to Andrew Garfield, that's a real good thing you did, son. And he looks at him and says, thank you. While the men ask, are you Dick Carver? And he goes, yes, I am. He goes, we have a few questions we want to ask you. And Andrew Garfield's put in the back of a police car. And Michael Shannon looks very stressed. We don't hear the conversation as he's talking to these men. I'm assuming these are detectives.
Oh, 100%.
And they are investigating now because Andrew Garfield kind of admitted in front of everybody that he filed a false document.
Yep.
It's never explained. And this is why I'm speculating.
Yeah, it's implied.
But it's implied that now Michael Shannon's going to be taken down, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
Right. But it's not explained. And also, he wouldn't. He would not. Okay? Because all of the evidence is on Andrew Garfield taking the fall. It would not come back on Michael Shannon.
It would be a he said, she said, or he said, he said sort of thing. But like you could make a case like he got up and did that and said what he said, and it being truthful because he put his life on the line in order to.
Or he said it under duress, even too, because
he got up on his own volition to confront Frank Green. He wasn't under duress. He got up on
I think you could argue it's under duress because of it was essentially an armed,
but
not a hostage
situation.
But
he didn't have to get up and...
It was an armed standoff.
He didn't have to get up and put himself out in the open.
I agree, but I think that could be considered inadmissible in court because of the situation.
Look, man, I want to be hopeful that Mr. Carver gets arrested and loses everything. That's the outcome that I want.
And I think it's implied that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it is, Andrew Garfield sitting in the back of the police car, and I think he is satisfied with the fact that he owned up to it.
Yep.
And he is now getting Dick Carver in trouble. We don't know, but it's presumed that he was explaining to those authorities
what all happened. Everything.
Yeah. And then he, looks outside the car window of the back of the police car and Frank's son is standing there smiling, looking back at him.
Cut the credits. I remember like pausing the movie when the Frank Green thing was happening, or like right before that, and I was like, what the fuck happens in the next 10 minutes? Like, how does this movie end? Because it spent a lot of time like, in a way, like you could see that Richard Carver is like evil as fuck.
Yeah.
But some of the scenes make it feel like it was condoning some of the shit that he was doing. Like it almost felt like he did not get enough pushback on his ideals, and so it almost puts it in a good light. And this is the only part of the movie that kind of finally is like a breaking point against the reality that Carver lives in. And pushes back on it.
Right. I think the fraudulent document was the final
straw. Yeah.
Straw that was too. Yeah. It was a bridge too far.
The last.
But all the other things were so incremental.
Right.
Except for the actual evictions themselves, even though Andrew Garfield went through with them all.
Yeah.
Were, they're incremental enough that Andrew Garfield just kept doing them without a second thought.
He was slowly boiling the frog.
Yeah. He's slowly succumbing to the lure of the devil, if you will.
Right.
Something I want to particularly shout out is how, as what are presumed to be the feds or the authorities, walk Andrew Garfield over to Michael Shannon and say, "Are you Dick Carver?" And looks at Michael Shannon looks at Andrew Garfield and says, like, "Hey, I want to thank you for what you did. That was a great thing that you did. That was very brave." And he just leans in and he goes, "Thank you." Do you think that's the film having Michael Shannon say, like, thank you for being honest and maybe turning me in so that I can finally like stop doing this? Because he does seem kind of miserable.
You could absolutely argue that. In fact, when you were like talking about that whole sequence, I had a feeling you were going to be like, this is a scene where
that's my impression.
His soul is finally absolved of all of this stuff, and he can finally deal with the consequences of his actions. Yeah, you could see. I could see that.
I definitely think that's what the film is implying, because even when we see Michael Shannon talking to those guys, as from the perspective of Andrew Garfield in the back of the police car,
he's calm.
It's muted. He doesn't. He's not shooting daggers at Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
it looks like maybe he's confessing.
Yeah,
like maybe he is just finally absolving himself of his sins.
Yeah,
in a sense. And I really feel like that's what he meant when he said the final thank you. It felt like a heavy.
Yeah, the demon of capitalism has finally left his soul. It's been exorcised from his body.
Yeah. Well, he is such a miserable fucking man for someone who is
making so much money,
and is constantly like, the things I'm doing to these people, like, whatever. Anyone would do it. I'm just the middleman.
I'm just the guy.
He's like, I'm not the guy that evicted you from the house. And it's like, yeah, you fucking are, dude. Like, yeah, maybe someone else would have done it, but like, you don't have to be the instrument. You don't need to be the lackey, of this process.
Yeah.
Or it's just awful.
So what'd you think of this movie? Would you recommend it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's a little hokey.
Yes.
It's a little underwritten.
Yes.
But Michael Shannon's incredible in it.
He's very good. He's a good
actor.
actor.
I can say that about almost any movie where he is a lead.
Oh man, I was about to say, if you were gonna say any movie that he was in, I was gonna be like, how about The Flash? He was Zod.
Well, by all accounts, he is phoning it in. I think even he admitted it in that movie.
Yeah, he did. He admitted it.
Well, I was going to make a joke about Man of Steel, but honestly, he's doing a pretty good job as Zod.
He's decent as Zod.
And
you can definitely tell the guy's like...
Problems with that movie aside, it's maybe it's the only decent Snyder DC movie.
Sure.
I haven't seen his newest cut of Justice League, though.
It's good.
Is it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It could be 48 minutes shaved right off, but yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm rolling my eyes. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I will never do a Snyder movie on this podcast. I will never subject our listeners to that.
No, we're doing Rebel Moon for my birthday.
Okay. A Snyder DC movie, let's say.
Okay.
Because those I'm just done with.
We're not really doing any kind of Marvel or superhero films in general, unless they're like
not that I can
weird
foresee.
side ones. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, so you would suggest this movie if you like Michael Shannon?
Sure. Or if someone had a particular interest in movies about
people getting evicted from their homes.
Yeah, foreclosures or even morality plays,
Yeah.
I feel like our buddy Jason would like this movie.
Hey, Jason, if you're listening, watch this film.
I'll reach out and let him know. Hey, listen to this episode. We got a message for you in it.
But you have to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. But Michael Shannon's performance is a real standout in it. I think it tells an important story.
Yes.
It may not be based on all true events like The Big Short is.
But people did go through this.
But this did happen to millions of people,
Yep.
In that time period. And honestly still does. Just in smaller groups now. But also, I was reading an interview with the writer and director, and he said one of the bigger reasons he wanted to make this film was because evictions aren't something portrayed in film a lot. Like, it's just not something you really see.
This is true.
In media. And I think we all know someone who it's happened to, at some point in their lives, either as a renter or someone with a mortgage. And it's just a fact of life, one of the lowest points, of a person's life that isn't focused on, isn't studied or portrayed in media. And I like that it's trying to bring that to light and also showing how scummy people can profit off of it.
Yeah.
And how it's just such a ripe
if there's a buck
industry.
to be made.
Yeah. It's just disgusting. All the things that go around it, but how it can be such a slippery slope for people that find themselves in it too, that get behind on their payments, get laid off from their job, and think
become
that they
easily
can do
coerced or manipulated to do stuff like this. Yeah.
Or think that there's a safety net to prevent them from getting evicted, or think that they can fight it to the point of preventing it, or at least prolonging it to the point where they can get back on their feet. And often that's not the case, unfortunately, and it's just awful. So I like that the film does that.
It's very poignant. I like that.
Yeah.
I don't have something to say that's even remotely as good as what you just said. So
okay,
that's good. That's good stuff. All right, so we're gonna take Michael Shannon out back and fucking blow his head off.
No.
Oh, not Michael. No, sorry, Dick Carver.
Carver.
Yeah, not Michael Shannon.
Never kill Michael Shannon.
No, he's a good boy.
Have you seen his Criterion Closet video that came out just very recently?
No, I don't do anything with Criterion. I know it's like a good collection of films.
It's become a meme already too.
Oh God, okay.
So
for like what film nerds like you?
Yeah, most likely,
there we go.
Because that's most of my social media. Anyway, so for those that don't know, the Criterion Collection is a label of imprint of like Blu-rays and DVDs that are curated by this company that buys the rights to distribute the film on Blu-ray and DVD, home release. Mm-hmm. And they like to pack in tons of extras, behind the scenes, deleted scenes, commentary tracks with cast and crew. Really nice cover art. They go all out. They go all out to give it a very special home release.
Right.
Because, most movies, when they get put out on home video, that's such a quaint way to refer to like DVD and Blu-ray, but it's just like, hey, we slapped the movie on there, and maybe there's some trailers.
Possibly a director's
maybe a commentary track, but you know what? Fuck you. You're going to pay $30 for this Blu-ray anyway.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and Criterion, tries to make it an archival effort, tries to restore the image, it does all kinds of extras that really make it worth buying and owning.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you, Criterion, for funding this episode.
Buddy, I wish. Anyway. They have a series of YouTube. They have a YouTube channel where they upload videos of where they invite celebrities or people in the industry that are well known to come into the Criterion Closet, which is a closet that they have in their New York studio space.
Okay.
That's lined with Criterion DVDs and Blu-rays. That they can just take anything that they want, put it into this big tote bag that's like Criterion branded, and then talk about whatever movies they're choosing and why.
Was that the thing that Joel Edgerton had that picture of him, and he had some movies, and you're like, oh man, I have these movies. So we have a similar taste.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
His video hasn't come out yet, but they tease it with a picture.
Oh, okay.
So they send out the picture the day they do it.
It's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and then they edit the video and release it eventually.
Right.
But Michael Shannon just did one recently.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've seen him out of a movie.
I've never seen him outside of a movie.
He is just like a laid-back, chill surfer dude.
That makes sense.
That has like messy hair, wears like a big Hawaiian shirt and like board shorts and sandals. And he's just very monotone.
Yeah, if only to be him.
Yeah, and he walks into the Criterion Closet and he's like, wow, it's so great to be here. I'm such a lucky boy. I can't wait to go home. Is how he. But what he's saying is, I can't wait to go home and watch these movies. But that part alone is cut and then placed over like lots
Literally
of videos
anything.
now where it's
Okay.
like me whenever I go anywhere.
I gotcha.
It's so good. I love him so much.
I dig it.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
I've also seen do you know Amoeba Records?
No.
It's a record store, a famous record store in Los Angeles that kind of does the same thing the Criterion Closet does, where they
Okay.
just invite celebrities or musicians to come in even and just pick out a bunch of like records and movies from the store,
Yeah.
and then sit down on a couch in front of the camera and explain what they picked out and why.
Okay.
And Michael Shannon, I've also seen him do that. And
Oh, really?
he's
It was
very
like,
much,
oh, wow, I'm a lucky boy. I get to listen to this fucking record.
He's very much like not, you know,
He's nonplussed. He just doesn't give a shit.
right. And I love how when he's acting, he is so engaged and out of.
Maybe he saves it for the
Well, that's the thing. He is such a chill, laid back dude in real life.
Yeah.
And it's so cool seeing that.
I gotcha.
I love the guy. And he kills it in everything he does.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah.
I enjoy movies that he's in.
Since we're on the subject, I really quick want to give a shout out to 2 movies that he did. One is Midnight Special.
I was literally just about to fucking.
I know
I
you've
was
seen
gonna.
that.
I was literally Jared about to be like, "You're gonna fucking say Midnight Special." I like that movie. That movie was good.
He's so incredible playing a father trying to protect
His kid,
his son
from everything.
I don't even want to give a synopsis of the movie.
It's It's better if you go in blind. It's a good movie. I would recommend.
Yeah. But my other pick is Take Shelter, which is, again, he's playing a father, but he's just a very working class guy who is trying to raise his family, you know, but he is struggling with a mental illness that he is developing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And that's all I want to say about it. I don't want to give too much away. It is an incredible movie. God, that movie just really affected me. It's really good.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to watch it sometime.
It's by the same writer and director that did Midnight Special too. Because I know you've seen that. Yeah.
Is Michael Shannon his muse?
I mean, even this guy,
Mr. Barani.
Yeah, Barani, who wrote and directed 99 Homes.
Yeah.
Brought Michael Shannon back for his Fahrenheit 451
That's right.
movie.
That's right.
So clearly, directors love
Like
him.
this guy, yeah, like working with him.
and
I
how
can only
could you
imagine,
not?
like being on set and this dude's like, all right, cool, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do whatever you want.
Well, what you want me to?
Hey, that's not your dick in your hand. Take it now.
Do you want me to slap Andrew Garfield? I'll do it. Whatever.
Will, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to just a quick shout out. Rest in peace, Jeremy Renner. Anyways, I heard recently he had, just recovered from that snowplow accident just to get eaten by a fucking escalator at age 52.
This was like a week ago on Twitter. That's going to be so outdated when this comes out.
I've seen the video, and I'm just, Jeremy, wherever you are, I love you. I miss your lumpy face. Rest in peace, King.
We should watch The Bourne Legacy in memory of Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, because he's in that one, isn't he?
That's the only one. That's the one about him.
That's the only one I've seen.
Oh, that's so weird.
I like Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
You know this. I like Jeremy Renner.
He was set up to replace Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's in those movies. I've seen that one too. Yeah,
Yep.
he's in a couple of those. Yeah.
Well, and the studio wanted to replace Tom Cruise because he was getting too expensive. And was like, we'll just move forward without you. And Tom Cruise was like, the fuck you are.
Yeah.
That's my franchise that I made because the Broccolis wouldn't let me be Bond.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to watch Arizona.
Okay. So next week's film will be
Arizona.
The 2018 film Arizona.
It's 2018? Damn.
Yeah. Well, it's more recent than any of the movies we just talked about
That's true.
lately. It is available to watch on the Roku channel for free, well, with ads.
Yeah.
But it's also available to rent for $2.99 from,
is
Redbox, Apple TV, Spectrum.
Is it no longer on Max?
Not according to Just Watch.
That's where I watched it.
It's also on Tubi. It didn't show up until just now.
Gotcha.
But Tubi, I think, is one of the better of
gotcha.
those like free but ad-supported streaming channels.
Yeah, you'll hear this again whenever we do Arizona.
Oh yeah, of course. But I just if people want to,
if you want to watch it right now, go watch Arizona. It's really fucking good.
I realize I say it at the top of the episode, like how you can watch it, but I don't expect people to pause the episode, go watch it, and then come back. Yeah. So maybe I figured it'd be better to leave.
No, it's not a bad idea.
On our outro. Well, folks, thank you for listening. You can find our show on social media by searching for @DebaserPod. I'm Jared Rusk, and you can find me on Twitter by searching @DebaserPod on Twitter and on Instagram. Will, where can people find you, and would you like to plug anything?
I would like to plug this show.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Please listen.
You telling your friends, Will?
I do tell my friends.
I got to remind my friends too.
In fact, I know you've seen it, but Pain and Gain had a lot of like my post that I threw up had a lot of interaction with a bunch of my buddies.
Yeah, and do we want to call attention to how you know somebody that?
Yeah, one of my buddies
went to school. Yeah,
my buddy Reggie Sanchez that's down in Miami. Apparently, he went to school with one of the Goombas that was
one of the Sun Gym
gang dudes.
Yeah,
and he even went to the Sun Gym
and worked out at that gym
prior to it getting shut down. And
wild
all that stuff.
Shit.
Yeah, small world, baby.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you spend time in Florida and you do things on movies that are based in Florida.
But yeah, please tell your friends to listen to the show. Maybe we'll find more people that have connections to the subjects of our movies.
It'd be so cool if somehow someone has a connection to fucking Arizona. I'm gonna flip if that.
I don't know the premise of the movie yet.
Yeah,
but we'll find
it's
out.
not a true story, but like,
yeah,
it could have very well been.
All right, I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
I love you.
I love you too. Good night.
Bye.
Debaser is hosted by Will Taylor and Jared Rusk. Want to email the show? Send it to podcast@debaserpod.com. Want to help us out? Please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice, especially Apple Podcast, and tell a friend to listen to Debaser. Thank you for listening, and take care out there.